I think it's beautiful. I've always been intrigued by the cactus and the nature, and we just love to be outside.
Look at the other ones, even lower.
I like the nature. It's really nice, and the hikes are really difficult.
In the spring, usually there's breezes like this, and it's very nice and refreshing.
Hello, sir. How are you today?
My name is Robert Young. I am the park manager of Picacho Peak State Park. With being the main corridor with the interstate here is on the way to Phoenix or Tucson. We're a little kind of island, if you look at it, through the pass here of just perfect example of Sonoran Desert. The park offers, of course, the unique shape of the mountain and the geological aspect of that, but you have the great Sonoran Desert environment here, and in the springtime you can have the Mexican gold poppies, and Picacho Peak State Park is one of the best places to view the Mexican gold poppies. And on a great year, it just blankets the mountain. It's just a total blanket of yellow.
Well, for me, we were driving by to Tucson and I couldn't take my eyes off it, and I kept taking pictures out the window. And I told my husband, we've got to go back there and go hiking. And today was the day. I just said, we're going.
So anybody who's hiking up this trail to Picacho Peak, you know, you don't want to be spending all your time thinking about how tired you are. You want to look down and look at gas bubbles, fossil gas bubbles in the volcanic material. And then the gas came out of these bubbles, leaving holes. That is, we call them vesicles. Geologists would never just simply call them holes. You need a fancier term, vesicles. My name is George Davis. I'm a Regents Professor Emeritus, University of Arizona, Department of Geosciences. Arrived there in 1970, right out of grad school. There was a time where the geological word on Picacho Peak was that it was the throat of a volcano, preserved, like a big spine, like a conduit to the surface. Enter geological mapping. It turns out that can't be supported. Instead, Picacho Peak is made of flows that are now tilted on their side. And the volcano that erupted these flows was located 10 kilometers away. Very important part of the story of Picacho Peak is that the rocks we're standing on Picacho Peak are way out of place. They were originally formed as lava flows on the other side of Picacho Mountain. How can we be certain that there's a link between the two? Well, we have a dotted line that connects the two mountains. One of the dots is that island of dark rock where I'm pointing right now, and the other is the little, almost looks like a fortress on that ridgetop in the far distance. Those are volcanic rocks that were faulted part of the way to Picacho, but not all of the way. So it's almost like the breadcrumbs we were talking about that left a bit of a trail that causes us to conclude these rocks started out way over there. So we have Picacho Mountain, we have Picacho Peak. Almost no one looks at Picacho Mountain because Picacho Peak is so interesting as a landform.
We're talking many years ago here, but approximately 1,500 years ago, this area, this environment was completely different, where it was a farming community for the Hohokam Indian. There was actually some running water and so forth. So the history of this area does date back to early Native American with the Hohokam. Throughout history, you know, the peak itself, Picacho Peak, was a landmark throughout time. Behind me you'll see the monument for the Mormon Battalion. The monument was erected in their honor for several things. The Mormon Battalion was contracted by the U.S. government in the 1840s to construct a road through the pass, Picacho Pass, becoming the main corridor as it is today. Not only did construct that road, but they camped here as well in their journeys to California.
Ready, fire!
One of the special events at Picacho Peak State Park is our annual event called Civil War in the Southwest.
1, 2, 1.
that is a reenactment of the engagement of the Civil War battle that took place here. We also add 2 New Mexico territory battles as well. And we see, on average, 200 plus reenactors that come out to participate for that weekend. We see generally 32 to 4,500 spectators come out for that event.
My name's Les Hook. I'm a volunteer, maintenance volunteer here at Picacho Peak State Park. We love to camp. My wife and I raised our kids in the campground. This is a way to give back for all that. We like to talk. We love people, and just to get out in God's creation and see the beauty in the United States.
I hate to be disparaging, but the drive from Phoenix to Tucson or Tucson to Phoenix is not very exciting geologically. There's a lot of alluvium there. And what makes Picacho Peak so fascinating as a landmark, it's something to look at along the way. And it is so strong and resistant to erosion that it's held out much longer than the other rocks that were here at one time.
I started at Picacho back in the 80s, and it's been going on since then. I like to come up at least a couple times a year, oftentimes more than that in the springtime. And I like the challenge, and I love coming out when the wildflowers are in bloom. Beautiful.
I've been here approximately 10 times. It's fabulous, it's challenging, makes me feel alive. It's good to know at my age I can do it, and I get to tell everybody about it and show them the pictures.
How old are you?
I'm 73.
My name is Xavier Holmes and I am 5 years old.
Keep walking around.
Easy and hard because the rocks are slippery and you have to climb up them. I didn't like when we first got here, all those stairs.
Majestic,
Challenging,
fabulous,
beautiful,
rewarding,
inspiring,
and just blessed to be able to do this.
and fun.